So I keep getting comments on all my pit bike and e-moto videos about how my bikes are not legal to ride on the road and that they need to have some pedals on them. So I finally got an e-bike that does, and this one supposedly still goes 50 miles per hour. Let's go check out the brand new HappyRun G300 Pro. Before we go over all of the specs and features, I'm just going to quickly show you how easy it is to assemble this bike. So here's everything that came in the package with the HappyRun G300 Pro. Starting with the handlebar, has the display already mounted on there, air pump, set of pedals, the rear shock, assortment of zip ties, a lock, 4 keys. 2 are for the button battery and then 2 are for the top of the battery. 72 volt charger, max output 84 volts, 3 amps, toolkit, user manual, 17-inch front wheel, 180 millimeter disc brake rotor, and a front fender. So this isn't actually carbon, this is definitely plastic. It looks almost just like a Sur-Ron one, but it came with this metal bracket that's already pre-installed to let you just use 1 bolt to mount it onto the fork. This 180 millimeter rotor for the front wheel isn't a standard mountain brake one though. It is a little bit thicker. Bolts for the disc brake rotor are 4 millimeter Allen. Try not to touch the brake pad surface of the rotor with your bare hands. You can also throw gloves on. Now I'm just going to use this 1/4-inch drive impact to speed things up and drive the screws down, but I'm not going to torque them down with the impact. I'm going to torque everything down by hand. When positioning the handlebar, you want to make sure it's in the same angle as the fork. Like most bicycles, the left pedal is usually the reverse thread, so you spin counterclockwise to tighten it. Pinch bolts for the bottom of the fork are a 5 millimeter. Just gonna hand loosen all 4 of them. Then we're gonna unscrew the axle, which is a 6 millimeter. Before you can install the rear shock, you got to remove this brace that they have in place for shipping. The nuts are just a 13 millimeter, and then the bolt is a 6 millimeter Allen. Just like coilovers on cars, this type of shock has a spring perch and a collar to adjust the coilover tension. I actually screwed the collar down almost a full inch. I want to take the bike out first before we make further adjustments, but typically you want about 20 to 30% of sag, or how much the rear shock is compressed when you're just sitting on it. Assembly was pretty straightforward. Took me about 45 minutes to put together, but obviously I was filming, so you can probably do it in half an hour. Before we take this bike out for its first ride and go over all the features, I want to make sure it is fully charged. Now, if this was my bike, which this one is, the first things I would do is remove all the reflectors and switch the brake lines around. From the factory, it's configured so the left brake lever activates the front and then the right one activates the rear. I'm just more used to a traditional e-moto where the left one activates the rear. So I don't want to get thrown off by hopping on this bike. So just for safety reasons, I'm going to switch them around. It's an 8mm for the brake lines. You know what? A little bit of adjustment on the lever did the job, so it seems like we have sufficient brake pressure now. What's different about the G300 Pro in comparison to other e-moto style bikes is this one is hub driven, so it should operate a lot quieter in comparison to the mid-drive bikes. This is a 3000 watt hub motor with a peak output of 4000 watts. It's got 17-inch wheels, front and rear. Obviously full suspension. The front is compression adjustable. It's got a 72 volt, 30 amp hour lithium battery pack. The seat kind of looks like a Ciron seat. It's got a 2000 lumen LED headlight, LED taillight with a functional brake lamp and built-in turn signals, front and rear disc brakes, though what's interesting about this one is the rear brake is larger than the front. The back is a 203mm rotor, while the front is a 180. So I'm not really sure if they're prioritizing wheelies. That's actually something that I've never seen before. To turn the bike on, you actually don't need a key. You just hold the power button down for 2 seconds. Twist throttle is on the right side. It's a half twist. On the left side controls, you got the headlight switch. So that's how you turn it on and off. Turn signals. You can actually leave both of them on, and it acts like hazards. To cancel them out, you just press it again. Bottom one's a horn. It's actually pretty loud. And to get out of park, you just press the brake once, and that actually activates the throttle. When you first turn the bike on, it starts off with power assist level 1, and to toggle up and down, you just use the plus and minus sign on the right side controls. Obviously, 1 is the absolute slowest and 5 is the fastest. From the factory, the speed limit on mode 5 is capped at 28 miles per hour. If you want to fully uncap the power, turn the bike off, turn it back on, and before it loads, hold the brake 5 times, and the speed limit will still be the same on modes 1 through 4, but if you switch to 5, it now free spins up to 50 miles per hour. But will this bike actually go 50 miles per hour with a 180-pound rider on there? We'll find out. But as you can see, we're actually at our property here in West Virginia where there are no paved roads for miles. So I'm going to be doing today's test backwards. I usually start off with a speed test, but today we're going to be starting off with testing out the off-road capability of the new G300 Pro. Then when we get back to Northern Virginia tomorrow, we'll test out how smooth it rides on the roads and see how fast this thing can actually go. After just a short break, the weather changed very quickly. It just started pouring and now everything is completely wet, but we shouldn't have a worry since this bike does have a waterproof rating of IPX5, so I'm not too concerned with the electronics. Before we go in the woods, I want to just take it out in the gravel roads real quick, see how it handles. Tires seem to have pretty good traction. Let's see what the top speed is capped off at mode 1. Seems to be 12 miles per hour. Let's see what it does in mode 2. 18 miles an hour. Mode 3 is 24 miles per hour. Yeah, it seems like it's electronically capped. Yeah, it's super foggy out, so I'm just gonna keep my headlight on. All right, so mode 4 seems to be capped off at 32 miles per hour. Now let's see what mode 5 does. Oh, mode 5 is fast. I might not want to do this on the gravel. Oh, mode 5 is quick. Yeah, we're going uphill right now. Now that's not completely flat ground, so I wouldn't count that as a dead acceleration from a stop, but it's pretty quick. I mean, we're cruising at, we're at a slight uphill now. Still cruising at 41 miles per hour going uphill. Starting to slow down now. Man, it's pretty odd to go this fast on an e-bike with pedals and have it be so quiet. Suspension seems to be handling bumpy roads just fine, though I am going to make a few adjustments before we go in the woods. Wow, that is like super foggy. I don't feel comfortable doing a top speed run in this neighborhood. All right, we've ridden 6.4 miles so far on this charge, and we've sucked up 1 bar of battery. All right, it is super foggy out, but let's try to do a little bit of a top speed run, I guess. All right, that's just way too sketchy right now, but we're able to do 45 miles an hour on wet gravel on a really foggy road. I'm gonna give it another try on the road when we get back to Virginia. But this bike is a lot faster than I thought it would be, considering it's a hub drive. All right, I'm gonna make a few adjustments before we head out to the woods. The fork is definitely quite soft. This knob says that it's compression adjustment, so let's see what happens if we turn it all the way in. Well, it just seems like it slows down the reaction time, so this kind of acts like it's rebound. Let's go all the way out. Yeah, it just speeds up the reaction time for the fork. I'm going to start off with it 2 clicks from the fastest setting. It's a pretty good starting point. And then for the rear, this does have rebound adjustment, and it is 24-way adjustable. When you have the knob all the way down, it has the fastest reaction, and when you have it all the way up, this has the slowest reaction. I personally like to have it on the slower side, so I'm going to start off 4 clicks from the slowest. Seems to be a good starting point so I don't get bucked forward on the small bumps. Not bad though, it rides pretty well. The front suspension is a little bit on the softer side for my weight. Actually going to slow down the fork a little bit more. 4 more clicks, see how that rides. Oh yeah, that's definitely the more ideal setting. Oof, it is super wet out. It handles pretty good though. Now this is some really rocky stuff. Overall though, it handles rough terrain pretty well, though that's not really what it's meant for. Ooh, definitely bottomed out the fork. So it does have its limitations as far as suspension and rough off-road capabilities. One thing I wish I could change if I were to do this type of riding on this bike is a full twist throttle rather than this half twist. It just throws me off a little bit as far as how to grip it when I'm riding on the really rough stuff. Back in Virginia, so we can continue testing on this bike. Let's hop back on the main road and see what the actual top speed is. But this time I have a GPS speedometer app open so we can see how accurate the speedometer display on the bike actually is. So we're showing 50 miles an hour on the display on the bike, and we're showing 48 miles per hour on the GPS.
So the speedo is actually pretty accurate for the most part. We're about 2 miles an hour off. It's showing 50 miles per hour on the display on the bike, and it shows that we topped off at 48 miles per hour on the GPS. Next thing that I want to test out is how effective the pedals actually are. Whoa, that feels a little bit unnatural to me. Let's see, we're barely pedaling and it just keeps accelerating. So I'm going to turn that down to pedal assist 2. All right, that feels a little bit more natural, like it matches the speed of my pedaling. Let's go back to level 5. You know what? Let's see how fast it can go. Yeah, I'm just like barely pedaling, and we're going almost 40 miles per hour. It just feels a little bit unnatural, but I'm not complaining. You guys know how much I love my speed. Overall though, this bike ride's really smooth on the road. Braking power is more than enough. Personally, I don't think I'm going to be using the pedaling feature that often unless I see a cop or something. Now let's talk about what this bike is and what it isn't. This bike's not a dirt bike, but it also is not a standard e-bike. What I consider an e-bike, at least here in Virginia, United States, is something that usually has pedals and has 500 to 750 watts of power. And obviously, this thing has way more than that. This has 4,000 watts of power. And personally, I think it's a great option if you want a budget e-bike that goes 48 miles per hour.
To be honest, I'm quite surprised that this bike is actually faster than a number of the e-motos I have here in the garage, at least in unmodified form. So this actually seems like a good budget option if you're looking for an e-bike with pedals that still goes pretty quick. I think the price for this is $25.99. If you're interested in getting more information about the HappyRun G300 Pro, I'll have a link to their listing in the description below. But if you found today's video helpful in any way, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you like this kind of content, want to keep up with some of my bike reviews or some of my rides, consider subscribing to this channel and turning your bell notification on. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching.